great.
Hi, everybody. I'm here with Stephanie Baysinger, and we're going to be talking recruiter enablement. So, Stephanie, thank you for joining me today, and give us a quick introduction. Who are you and what do you
Sure.
do?
Thanks, Adam. Hi, I'm Stephanie. I have been working in the recruitment space now. I was thinking about it this morning, like over 14 years. I started off as a recruiter in-house at a consulting firm, mainly hiring MBA candidates to come and work full-time for a global consulting firm. And then my last few jobs have been directly in high-scale tech. So I've been taking on the title of recruiting operations lead at a variety of different tech companies. Really, the most fun part of my job, the last few gigs, has been taking recruitment teams from a more reactive state, because they're earlier in their life cycle, and building out repeatable, scalable processes so that we can be more optimized, more predictable, more scalable. And so I use that through various tools and processes and knowledge sharing, and working directly with an incredible recruitment team to build a more efficient and enabled team that helps the business.
So, what's the and is enablement and operations, is that the same thing? Is enablement part of operations? What's the crossover and overlap? And yeah, how does that work?
I think from my point of view, I know that part of my job remit is enabling a recruitment team. So while it's different
Yeah.
or not, I know that I come to work every day and my role is to enable a team of recruiters to do their best work. And that's how I deem success. So my job is to make the life of a recruiter easier, make sure that the right tools are in place to make things more efficient, make sure that knowledge is passing between the rest of the business and our recruitment team, whether that's through documentation or bringing in speakers or doing trainings, so that when recruiters are meeting with candidates or meeting with their hiring managers and bringing in really strong talent, they have the tools and the processes that they need to work smarter. So that's how I see my link from an operations space to enablement.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Um, could you give us some examples of some of the things that maybe give us some examples of some of the things that you've done in your last few jobs that you are like part of your standard toolkit? We always have to do this, that you would like take with you wherever you go. What would those things be?
Yeah, I think there is, when I mentioned earlier about taking some teams from the more reactive state, managing different needs or requests from the business and taking that to a more data-driven approach. I really just want to start with the basics. I think I have had access to some incredible tools, and trust me, I have some fun evenings probably tinkering around with as many different analytics that I can possibly have. And I think I found in my last couple roles, keeping it really simple and making sure that you have kind of like a sunlight perspective on the basic metrics. How many candidates do you need to make a hire? What is your average time to hire? These are things that when I'm working really closely with some great heads of TA, like those are the things that when you go to a finance meeting or you're talking to executives, like those are the things that are going to hit the bottom line so that those executives or the business knows, hey, my recruitment team is firing on all cylinders. We have some metrics here to predict if we shift things a little bit or our numbers change, we have a bit more predictability on what the output of a recruitment team will look like. Those are the basics. There are tons of fun scientific type experiments I've done with analytics, but keeping it to the basics of the average kind of recruiter KPIs, I think are going to make the biggest impact. Kind of, Adam, specifically now with the market and seeing a lot of ebbs and flows, stops and starts with recruiting, I constantly was going back to the basics. Capacity models, how many people can we hire? How fast do we think we can hire them? What is the market doing to all of those metrics? And I think that's what builds a lot of credibility for an ETA team with the rest of the business.
Yeah, no, I agree, absolutely. And I mean, I imagine that, so your internal customer is the TA
Yeah.
team, right? So I imagine that they don't always know what they need from you. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think part of what makes why I love the role I'm doing is, we were chatting earlier, like I kind of see my remit as what's going on in the market, what's going on in various laws or things that are coming up, compliance
Yeah.
things that I can give the recruitment team what they need before they even know that they need it. And I'll do
Yeah.
that with, various hacks that I can do with our technology that we have, what kind of um, links might I attach to something, for talking points for competitor intel. I think a really good example, just to be really specific, is pay transparency, specifically here in the US. That was a huge undertaking that I know for anyone out there who's a head of TA or sitting in RecOps or a recruiter, this is a really big partnership between our team, our legal team, our comp team, our HR team, our executive suite, on what's going to come out with our brand. And that, I think, is a big project that I've worked on. I've had peers that have worked on, where the recruiters need the information so that they can go speak to candidates in a clear way that builds confidence in the company that a candidate's going to join. And that sits on my team's plate to build the right philosophy for our comp, for our pay transparency. How does that sit within our ATS? Where do the recruiters get the information to make sure they're giving consistent information? And this enables a recruitment team to show up as their best self and represent the company very well when they're talking to candidates who now expect that from their global, when they're applying for jobs.
That's right. So what are I mean, presumably when you start a new role, there's a lot of diagnosis you need to do. How do you uncover? You're going to be bringing in a lot of ideas and things like that, but how do you uncover, right, what's all going on? What's the recruiter workflow look like and all that kind of thing? Do you interview people? What's the sort of things you do to work out what's going on?
Yeah, I do love to shadow. Whenever anything is, we communicate a lot via Slack. I'll get Slacks that, maybe an integration with our legal signature platform is not working, or how do I fill out this field? I absolutely love to say, let's share screen. We work in a remote environment now. In the olden days, I would run over to someone's desk, or I'd hear someone grunt or get frustrated with a tool, and I'd actually run over there and be like, can you please show me what is frustrating you so that I know?
Yeah.
But now, I'll come and share screen and I'll watch and I'll, oh, okay, does it need to be that many clicks? Okay, and then we'll go back to the ops team and say, we need to fix this. This should be intuitively quite easy, and we're accidentally overcomplicating things, which does happen a lot in ops. I'll say that's probably my biggest learning curve, is wanting to create the most elaborate user experience. And now I just live in the world of like clarity, simplicity, less clicks, less tabs, less tools, and keep things at the basics of what makes a recruiter really good, which sometimes doesn't involve all of the tools and technology. It's the skill set they have in selling and knowing a business and stakeholder management. And I want that to be a really big focus.
Yeah, no, this sounds great, because we are, I think, drowning in technology. We're drowning in the number of clicks we need to make to get things done. And technology is meant to help us do things more easily, but in a lot of cases, we've overcomplicated it all, I think. And so I'm glad that simplicity is one of your things that you're kind of striving for.
I'm trying. I keep a big Post-it there to remind myself, but you want to find the cool new tool, but yeah, keeping it simple is a motto I'm trying to stay to.
Yeah. Okay. Last question for me is, what are I mean, there's not like thousands and thousands of people who are doing the type of job you're doing all over the world. So it's a growing number, but what are I mean, you're obviously quite intuitive, and you're obviously quite innovative, able to come up with new ways of doing things. But beyond your own internal abilities, what are the other sources of information for somebody doing the type of job that you're doing? How do you learn?
One of the things that I've taken on is learning a lot from other departments within the organizations I'm working at that might have similar roles. So this last company that I was at, some of the first relationships I wanted to make were with our employment lawyer, with our finance team, with our HR officers, and then I'm just learning a ton. How do you do that? You have, our vendor management tool is a great example. I'll talk to the person who's handling all of our vendor management. How do you organize all of this? How do you create tools that allow us to make sure that we don't have two pieces of technology at the company do the same thing, redundancy? And so I'm actually starting to learn a lot more from other departments, sales enablement, marketing enablement, and bringing some of those best practices into recruiter enablement and recruiter efficiency. What data are they using? What technology do they use? And are there opportunities, the rest of the business, I can find that it can be quite frustrating for an executive or someone who's not working with our departments on a day-to-day basis to then have to context switch or get used to a different data dashboard every time they work with legal or finance or recruitment or L&D. And so ways that we can find a bit of synergy or reduce some redundancies for our stakeholders will help us move a bit faster too. So I'm learning a ton from other functions that do similar work, but in a different vertical for the business.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that. I probably started becoming interested in this subject from learning all about sales enablement. So
Yeah.
I'm glad
Yeah.
I'm not the only person who appreciates the parallels there.
Yeah.
Stephanie, thank you very much for your time. It's been really
Thank
great
you.
to learn from you today, and I've got no doubts we'll talk again in the future about this subject.
Great. Thanks so much, Adam.